Welcome to the channel, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Arnold. How's it go? And today we're talking about Modern Warfare. Yes, there's been so much hype around this game, and we're finally through our first weekend of the Call of Duty Modern Warfare hype. And I want to share some thoughts about the game because I do think it's one of the better Call of Duties we've had in the past couple years, but I think there's a lot we need to improve upon this game. So we're going to share some of my initial impressions on this game, and I hope maybe a developer out there hears this because I think with a few extra changes, this game could really become one of the top Call of Duties of all time. So first things first, before we talk about multiplayer, a lot of this conversation will revolve around multiplayer because that's what we're probably going to be grinding out for the next year until the next Call of Duty comes out, and probably for a couple years after that. It's fantastic that they added a campaign and Spec Ops. Black Ops 4, they took out the Black Ops 4 campaign because they probably felt that there wasn't a lot of people enjoying campaigns. There's a big movement right now where it seems like more and more people care more about multiplayer and not single player. I'm one of those people that still love single player campaigns, and I love the fact that they're Spec Ops. I'm a Modern Warfare 2 fanatic. Modern Warfare 2 is my favorite Call of Duty of all time. Come at me, bro. And when you combine the realism, the amazing graphics, the sound effects in this game, it really, and the fact that Modern Warfare is supposed to kind of relate to what's going on in the real world here, the campaign is fantastic, and the Spec Ops is an amazing side addition to have to the game for those that like to go a little bit beyond the multiplayer experience. So what I'm trying to say is that I like the fact that this has the complete Call of Duty package. Yes, there's no Call of Duty Zombie. That's more of a Treyarch Black Ops thing, so I'm not going to talk much about that. But let's talk about the multiplayer. I have some mixed feelings about the multiplayer. Overall, it's going to be a mostly positive experience. We're going to talk a lot about footsteps, claymores, map designs, lobby issues, and voting issues that I have with this game. But let's highlight the good thing about the game, I suppose. I first want to start off with class customization. I love the whole gun customization we have in this game. Arguably, probably the best gun customization we've had in any Call of Duty today. We've had many different varying ways of customizing your guns. We have the old days where you'd only get one or two attachments, maybe a little bit more if you added a perk of some sort. Then we had like things like Black Ops 3 where you had like kind of a point allocation system. You can load up your attachments, but it comes at the sacrifice of perks. Here, there's really no trade-off. You can load up your gun up to 5 attachments and you don't sacrifice any perk or anything else of that sort. Your secondary weapon, you can max out a primary weapon and a secondary weapon. I think honestly this is probably the best part about this Call of Duty. It's your weapon customization and the amount of attachments for a variety of things. There's literally dozens upon dozens of attachments that really gives you a lot of different ways to take your gun to a different level. You can turn your AK-47 into something like more of a submachine gun type of weapon, or you can kind of turn it into an RPD if you want to kind of add a lot of light machine gun type attachments. Really, you can really customize your shooting experience to what you really enjoy the most. The next thing on the list besides gun customization, I love the fact there's cross play. One of the biggest problems was, especially growing up, you know, you're playing with your friends after high school, and really most kids in high school, you're lucky to have a PlayStation 3 or an Xbox 360. There was really not a lot of people who had both at the same exact time, so you're kind of stuck with your PlayStation buds or your Xbox buds, and there's really no way to kind of share the Call of Duty experience together. Instead, you guys are sharing your own stories later on at your lunch period, I suppose. This Call of Duty is revolutionary in that regard. Yes, crossplay is nothing new. We see Fortnite really the biggest advocate for something like this, but for me personally, it's great to see PC, Xbox, and PlayStation all share the same exact server. And if you don't want to play with cross-platform people, you can just simply disable those features so you stick with just console players or PC players, because I do think PC players are gonna have a little bit of a better advantage. PCs in general, the master race as we call them, PCs usually get you to higher frames per second. You probably get better graphical output as well. I mean, you do get better graphical output, especially if you jump up to those 2080 Ti's RTX stuff. And plus, mouse and keyboard, you're usually a bit more precise with the mouse than a controller. But of course, with a controller, you get some aim assist options in there. So there's pluses and cons to it all. But for what I'm seeing, I played on both PlayStation 4 and I've also played on PC. The experience seems still kind of the experience still seems kind of leveled for the most part. And plus, you're no longer constrained to just one console. If you want to play in your PlayStation 4, you sign into your Activision account and it syncs your progress over to a PlayStation 4. And besides the variety of consoles you can play on, there's a variety of game modes. I feel like this is definitely one of the years where we got the most variety. Yeah, there's no Battle Royale mode. I know Battle Royale is a very controversial subject for the most part. I don't mind Battle Royale of Call of Duty if they added it. Cool. I mean, it's better to have more features than less features in my opinion. So they added a Battle battle royale, all the better. I'm not going to argue too much against that. And of course, the newest thing really is the ground war, which is really a large-scale conflict, very similar to Battlefield. Now, and before we get into the problems I have with Call of Duty, which I hope that do get addressed, a lot of these issues I have can be fixed with the simple patches, I think. The weapon variety in this game is fantastic, and you're going to be grinding out the camos for a very, very long time. You have a lot of attachments, a lot of camos, so you're not going to quickly get bored of a weapon because there's so many ways to perfect a weapon, unlock new stuff. And the great thing is, there's a lot of pretty viable weapons in here. Of course, I think some guns like the M13, I'm still working on it, but in beta, that gun is fantastic, and it still looks like it's a fantastic gun post-launch now. Even guns like shotgun. I'm a big shotgun lover, and before in a lot of Call of Duties, I felt like shotguns were kind of ever since Modern Warfare 2. There was a couple that were okay here and there, but here, I feel like a lot of these shotguns are actually pretty useful, especially the R90. Might make a video on that sometime later. Fantastic weapon, and I find myself using that a lot more than my assault rifle sometimes. But the point I'm trying to get at, there's a lot of ways to enjoy a Call of Duty. There's a lot of different weapons. Marksman rifles, kind of an interesting subcategory of a sniper rifle. But what are my issues that I have with this game? And there's really a couple, as I kind of outlined earlier. And I do hope that Activision kind of takes this feedback to heart, because this stuff could become annoying to the point where they might have people leaving the player base. I know some people personally that are very upset over Call of Duty Modern Warfare because of these issues. Let's go and kind of break down what's going on right now. So one thing I haven't really talked about in the good side of things is maps. And for the most part, I'm not finding a lot of people overly hyped about the maps. Maybe because we're very used to those 3-lane type of maps. I mean, I'm going back to Modern Warfare 2 because that's really the closest thing we've had, except the Modern Warfare Remastered, I suppose. That kind of reminds us what boots on the ground is all about for Call of Duty. Terminal, Skid Row, High Rise. High Rise is probably the classic 3-lane map of all time. Those are the maps I enjoy. They're very thematic. They're very tactical without being too overcomplicated, and they're not huge. This Call of Duty kind of negates all those elements that I've shown. Now, there's really no 3-lane maps anymore. A lot of them are kind of big, and a lot of them are kind of overcomplicated for the most part. The only 2 maps I'm really finding myself enjoying is the Hackney Yard map as well as the Gunrunner map. Those are really the only 2 maps I'm kind of finding myself enjoying for right now. And of course, there's a lot of these small maps that are really fun. Again, this is very 3-lane focused. I'm just not excited about them. None of them really kind of make me excited to play on them, and they don't really give me the same sense I had with previous Call of Duty games. I just feel like a lot of these maps are very overcomplicated, and it would be nice if we had some more maps to simplify, because let's say you do limit yourself to Team Deathmatch and Cyber Attack. You really only get like four maps to kind of play on, whereas before in Team Deathmatch, let's say Modern Warfare 2, I don't know if it's even fair to compare this game to Modern Warfare 2. Modern Warfare 2 had a very wide list of maps to play for these game modes. Of course, they could probably release more maps into the future, but at least for initial release, if you're someone that likes Team Deathmatch, Cyber Attack, and those type of maps that I explained earlier, like High Rise, for example, back in Modern Warfare 2, and all other maps of that sort, you're not going to find too many of those maps here. So I don't think maps is really the biggest highlight of this game. And for a lot of people, it seems to be kind of a turnoff. But of course, Activision can improve upon this with future updates and new content releases, I suppose. Next problem I have, lobby issues. I mean, I understand why it might be like this, but for the most part, 90% of me doesn't understand why this is the problem. Anytime you're done with the game, I don't understand why you just don't sit in the same lobby. Sometimes you find a really good group of competitive people that are decent to play with, that you want to, maybe you and your group want to keep playing over and over again. You know, the classic lobby situation again, kind of going back to all the previous Call of Duties. You stay in the same lobby, you guys trash talk each other for a while. Everyone votes on a map and a game mode they want to play on. Whatever one gets the most votes, that's going to be the next match. So it's very competitive. Here, every time you're done with a match, it kicks you out of that lobby. It's got to find a new lobby. And sometimes I've noticed host migration issues where sometimes the host at a party gets disconnected from the rest of the group, or something. Another player will get disconnected from the host. It seems a lot more complicated. The only upside I could see to this is them not letting this be sustain the same lobby situation, is that they maybe just want to keep things fair, maybe just keep putting in a new lobby so you're always placed with random people. You're not stuck with the same. But I mean, my answer to that is that if someone gets sick of a lobby, they can just back out and join a new party. So that's a patchable issue as well. And I think this would also help with the map situation, because sometimes you're just thrown into a random map you don't like. But if you can vote, you might at least have a chance to play a map that you prefer more than the other. And right now, there's no way of really doing that. You just get tossed into a random lobby and a random game mode that you might not want to play. Because sometimes you play, if you're doing a quick play playlist, for example, you might play the same game mode 5-10 times in a row, but maybe you want some more variety. And that's the problem with not having a lobby, is that you don't have a say-so in the map you're going to play on, and you don't have a say-so what game mode you're going to play on, and you don't have a say-so if you want to keep playing against the same group of people over and over again. Other problems I have with this Call of Duty, things like Claymores. If I believe Activision's actively looking into footsteps as well as claymores, and those are kind of two big issues. Claymores more so are the bigger issues because they just seem so overpowered. This game should be called Claymore Warfare, and there should be there's the nuke. Who cares about the nuke? Yeah, it's cool we have the nuke, but really having a claymore is like having a tactical nuke. Basically, that thing has a giant radius. I'm going to show you a clip right here. I was streaming on Twitch, by the way. Go check me out, link down below. What? Did you guys see that? Dude, I shot it. I saw this claymore. I'm on the side, like literally 90 degrees to the side, about maybe 10 feet back. And in this clip right here, you see that I see this claymore. I step over to the side of it, not even in the frontal range of this claymore, and the damage radius was huge. Things like this shouldn't happen, and sometimes you see other clips out there where claymores are bugged and the damage is just too crazy from the claymore. They definitely, I think, should be nerfed a little bit, or at least contained to their frontal range. And I think in this game, if the claymores are going to stay as powerful as they're going to be, you're definitely going to want this spotter perk, because I find myself probably 25% of my deaths or more are coming from claymores. And if you can see a claymore, you've won. You know that there's going to be camping going on, because one of the biggest problems of this game, I think, is because of the map design. Claymores are just, I think this is probably the biggest year for claymores. And speaking of claymores, let's talk about the next part. I guess that kind of funnels into claymores because of map design. This game is it's more trying to encourage you to find a place to camp out. Find a place to tactically control, and through controlling a particular area, you kind of want to fortify yourself. So that's where claymores come into play. Throwing claymores in front of doors, throwing claymores in front of ladders, and you're able to regenerate a lot of claymores. You can have 2 claymores at the start of the game if you start off with shrapnel, so that's that right there. And if you have the field upgrade, which allows you to replenish, you can replenish more claymores. And then if you have restock, you can recharge equipment. So the thing is, you can have a pretty good amount of claymores coming over and over again. I know it's nothing too revolutionary. Back in Modern Warfare 2, Scavenger allowed you to keep picking up more claymores, so it's nothing too new. But with the way the maps are designed right now and how quick claymores are to explode and their damage radius, even if you're not in front of them, this game is really encouraging camping and tactically, I don't know, this is the nice way to put it, tactically controlling an area. And that kind of comes around to the map design and the map size, where we're seeing a bit more camping than usual, I think. So besides claymores, camping, lobby issues, I think the last major problem that I kind of have, I think it's footsteps. Footsteps are something developers have been starting to look into, I think. Footsteps, I mean, the ninja field upgrade, I wish was a perk in this game. Unfortunately, it's not, because I would love to keep my footsteps silenced, because you sound like 100,000-ton gorilla walking around the map, and people can hear you from a mile away. Granted, it seems like it's hard to tell what direction it's coming from, but you can hear when someone's getting closer, because the footsteps get louder and louder and louder, as if you're King Kong. And I think, again, this kind of helps out with camp, because you stake out a place, you place your claymores, and you kind of sit still, and you can hear when someone's getting real, or someone's coming from a distance. So I don't know if they're going to change how footsteps work, but I think the best thing, if you want to try to counteract it, not change the sound, but at least make dead silence more of a perk, footsteps might be something that needs to get fixed. So again, there's kind of a plus and con depending on what side of the argument you're on. If you're the one trying to find someone, the footsteps are kind of at your disadvantage. But if you're someone kind of trying to listen out the area, and you're going to probably need a good headset too if you want to listen. I don't know if those PS4 little Cracker Jack mics are going to help you. Overall, I'm enjoying Modern Warfare. For the most part, it's great to be back to the boots on the ground experience. Of course, my opinion might be a bit more biased, because as you've heard, I've been talking a lot about Modern Warfare 2, and I am a big fan of Black Ops 1 and Black Ops 2. But once we got too much into the futuristic stuff like Advanced Warfare, Black Ops 3, and that stuff, I kind of that was my slow period. I didn't spend as much time playing the multiplayer, because I just wasn't into that. So if you're someone who likes boots on the ground experience, the most realistic Modern Warfare experience of all time, I think, and there's a variety of game modes to play, a variety of ways to customize your weapons, and a variety of ways to play with your friends, this is the game to really get. I don't know if it's going to be a #1 Call of Duty game, probably not, but I'd say it's probably up there in probably top 5 or 6 Call of Duties of all time. But those issues I talked about, I think they're definitely addressable with future content releases and future patches that can definitely help this game rise up to one of the better Call of Duties that we've had for this franchise. Thank you guys so much for watching. Hopefully you did enjoy the video. Like if you did enjoy it. Comment down below on your thoughts. Are you liking Call of Duty Modern Warfare? What other issues do you have? And of course, be sure to subscribe if you want to see some more Modern Warfare content and other fun games we'll be playing on this channel. And I'll talk to all of you lovely people in the next video. Peace out, everyone.
Party Richter, Party Richter. Down, 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 down. Party Richter, Party Richter. Son of a bitch. Party Richter, Party Richter. Down, down, down.